California, in the heart of Silicon Valley, sits on the Budget, Armed Services, and Oversight Reform Committees, and Congressman James Comer of the 1st District of Kentucky. He's the ranking member of the House Oversight and Reform Committee. And thank you both for joining us. And we make the point again and again and again that these are private companies, that they can choose to do whatever they want, Congressman Khanna. So that's not the issue here. I will tell you, you're in California. There's a Washington Post piece today, switching gears from Twitter to Facebook, where apparently Facebook played a much more active role in what happened that has been disclosed. And I guess Sheryl Sandberg is deflecting blame for the Capitol riot, even as new evidence showed that a lot was organized on Facebook, not just on Twitter. So what do you make of that?
I do think Facebook and Twitter share blame, and any speech that promotes actively violence, that's inciting violence, that shouldn't be on. Otherwise, I'm all for free speech. I believe conservative speech, liberal speech, all of it should be on. I respect Representative Comer. I mean, his speech should be on. But if any speech promotes violence, that's where I draw the line.
Congressman Comer, just to play devil's advocate on some of this, you might agree with this. I don't know. I remember Kathy Griffin holding up whatever her name is, holding up a beheaded President Trump. I remember, I don't know, Maxine Waters talking about how to treat Trump supporters. I remember a lot of things that don't seem to be squelched. And I'm wondering whether you think, Representative Comer, that maybe Twitter and Facebook tipped their hand with the whole laptop situation. No coverage of that after covering the dossier for 4 years. I mean, is it being, these guys are human, and they probably have political predilections that we know of, and now they're deciding what everyone gets to see or not see in the country. That kind of smells bad, doesn't it?
It does smell bad, and they have not been consistent. You're exactly right. There are countless instances where they have allowed very controversial statements, false statements to be posted without going unchecked. But now they seem to be censoring conservatives. You've seen with President Trump, with Ron Paul, with so many other conservatives. They refuse to put the Hunter Biden story on their platform because they said, implied that wasn't true. Now we all know that was true, and Hunter Biden's been under federal investigation for a couple of years. And a lot of people in America are very upset with big tech, and they're calling on Congress to do something about it, because at a time in America when we're deeply divided and half of America is strongly behind Donald Trump, they see that this is another instance of censoring conservatives' free speech, and it's bad for business. I think it's unethical, and it's something that we're going to have to address in Congress in January, right now, when we go back.
Hey, Congressman Khanna, the market should cure this. I mean, nobody, conservatives or whoever feels slighted, they don't need to use Twitter. They don't need to use Facebook. They can, and then Twitter and Facebook have to suffer the consequences of losing business or whatever. But what about it was something like a Parler, where maybe they wanted, they wanted to go there, and it almost looks like a concerted movement, all at the same time, to put that company out of business, maybe with good reason because of all the things that were on there, but. I don't know. If you were just watching from the outside, you'd say, well, some of this just looks like it's not fair.
Well, look, Parler was being supported by Apple, Google, Amazon for years. There was no problem with right-wing speech. There's no problem with speech that even may be false. And I actually, as you know, defended the idea that the Hunter Biden stories, as false as they were, they should have been published. I'm not for censoring speech based on making a decision on false or something being true. But violence is different. I mean, you had Parler sites that were talking about assassinating leaders, not just Democrats, assassinating the vice president. You had on Parler conversation about how they were going to plot to have more invasions on January 20th. That is nonsense, and that kind of violence doesn't help Americans.
Congressman, I think on Facebook, there are a lot of the organizers, are putting out information on where to get buses, how to get to Washington, D.C. There were all kinds of things, maybe not what you're talking about on Parler, but does that mean Facebook should be unable to operate anymore?
Well, it's a different degree. I mean, if you look at the Parler screenshots, and I believe Parler should still be allowed to come back on if they just commit to saying that they're going to have a content moderation strategy to remove violence. The CEO of Parler was on Kara Swisher's show saying he has no introspection. He doesn't think anything is wrong. He thinks the platform should be totally unregulated, and that's what's wrong.
Right. There's the Wild Wild West, Congressman Comer, and then there's, there's some type of reasonable not censorship, but a reasonable selection of what can appear and what shouldn't on a platform that you're running. And I mean, I don't envy them trying to look at every single thing that goes on their platform, but if they're going to run it, they need to do that.
Exactly. But what I'm asking for, and what half of America's asking for, is that they be consistent. When you ban the president of the United States, but you continue to allow the Ayatollah of Iran on there, you allow communist China to allow their propaganda on there. It's very inconsistent, and it's really driving a wedge between a lot of Americans at a time when they're looking on television and they see 15,000 troops all around the United States Capitol. They see the House of Representatives just impeach the president for the second time. It's fueling conspiracy theories at a time when we really need to tone down the rhetoric and become united. And big tech is certainly fanning the flames, unfortunately. And I agree that they need to take down content that's controversial and dangerous. They should be consistent with conservatives and liberals.
Okay, I'm sorry to wrap you. We got a hard break coming up, and both of you stay safe. We're all thinking about this crazy environment that we're in right now, and I hope everything goes well for you gentlemen.